real story that I have about the Phantom of the Opera is that when I was about 6 or 7, one Halloween, he called Universal and he borrowed the cape and the hat. And 2 of my friends and I dressed as goblins and hid under this cape. He would knock on the door and there he was standing there doing this insane Halloween poem, and then he would open up his cape and we would jump out and say, "Trick or treat, trick or treat."
4 days after Phantom's opening, Universal announced The Climax, a direct sequel reuniting cast and creative team. Nelson Eddy was enthusiastic about the proposed sequel, but when production neared, he was not available. Claude Rains had forsworn The Mask and signed a new contract with Warner Brothers. Finally reworked as a follow-up rather than sequel, The Climax starred Boris Karloff as a demented theater physician, worshiping the embalmed corpse of his murdered wife while menacing Susanna Foster,
I've come to help you, my dear.
whose voice bears an uncanny resemblance to that of the deceased diva.
Tonight you give your voice and your will to me. I'm in control.
The Climax originally was an old show from New York in the 20s that had one horrible song in it.
While not horrible, the songs in the movie The Climax were more operetta than opera.
When Madame is getting ready for the heavenly impression.
It had all the ingredients for success, including a solid cast.
In The Climax, I played a young Viennese boy called Franz, who was a musician in love with Susie Foster, who realizes what an evil influence that Boris Karloff character had on this girl.
By 1944, Boris Karloff had become such an indelible horror icon that his simple presence in a film signified shudders.
Boris Karloff, the classic horror actor. He did very little with his voice. He did very little with his face. He just let it be there. And the eyes are so expressive. I don't know whether you remember the close-ups of Boris Karloff in The Climax. They were masterpieces. I think it was the first time that Boris had a chance to play an elegant man. And when he came dressed in his tails and his wonderful hat, he was beautiful.
Once again, audiences were treated to the Phantom stage and Hal Moore's Technicolor camera work. But Universal's hope to repeat Phantom's success went up in flames.
Climax didn't have the name Phantom of the Opera. With that name alone, you were safe.
The Climax proved more of an anti-climax at the box office. Following World War II, the Phantom lurked quietly at Universal, unmasked again for a cameo in William Castle's 1951 Hollywood Story. In 1955, another Phantom script was prepared, again set in the Gaslight era. But the new face of fear at Universal International was the creature from the Black Lagoon and other modern horrors of the fabulous 50s. Lon Chaney now was the stuff of old-fashioned melodrama, which the film story of his life became.
Damn you! Damn you! Damn you!
Man of a Thousand Faces was a sanitized retelling of Chaney's own Hollywood story.
They love him, don't they?
The authorized version of a very private life, which some felt dropped the curtain on the true backstage drama. The son of deaf mutes, Lon Chaney was sensitively portrayed by James Cagney. The film explained Chaney's craft and fame, but weak facsimiles of Chaney's triumphs failed to convey his power of accomplishment. Even Eric's organ requiem sounded contrived, having been ad-libbed by staff composer Herman Stein, asked to strike some chords for what he was told was only a sound check. Chaney's soul remained a private mystery.
Do you have to pray like that?
I wouldn't know how to mean it any other way.
Even a bargain basement unmasking generated excitement and inspired a new Phantom. The never-produced 1957 script confronted the ghosts of World War II. The Phantom, a dancer named Carlo Volpirno, scarred by Mussolini's fascists. The spirit of Lon Chaney lived on at Universal.
There's a great new joke going around school. Don't step on that spider. It might be Lon Chaney.
Very funny.
In the 1950s, you couldn't step on that spider. It stepped on you. It seemed as if the Phantom would never be remade. And then...
They're going to reopen the opera, Christine. At last you and I are going to sing...
You are wrong, monsieur. I'm sorry, Christine. They are going to reopen the opera, but without you.
But Box 5 remained a problem.
Why is that box empty over there?
There have been complaints, Lord. Complaints. Voices. People do not like to sit there.
Are you trying to tell me it's haunting?
Director Terence Fisher, fresh from Hammer Films' triumphs, The Curse of Frankenstein and Horror of Dracula, was at the helm.
Like most films that he directed, he didn't have any say in choosing the subject. The studio had the idea to make the film. They said, would you like to direct this? And he would say, sure. But it was a subject that appealed to him.
It also appealed to Cary Grant. The legend of masculine charisma approached Hammer, wanting to make a horror film. Under the pen name John Elder, producer Anthony Hines tailored his script to the star's romantic persona, only to have Grant's agent refuse his client's wish to play against type.
On the rat catcher, you see, sir.
Cary Grant could not go and stab the rat catcher in the eye. Hammer's script takes most of the menace away from the Phantom. It shifts murders from him to other people.
Traditional dirty tricks performed with relish by earlier Phantoms were now delegated to a malevolent imp. Topsy-turvy, the Phantom unmasks himself and is a victim of his character's own traditions. Czech-born, trained at London's Old Vic, Herbert Lom inherited the mask of a kinder, gentler Phantom. Lom gave a masterful performance, blending the tortured pantomime of Lon Chaney with the voice of the fallen angel pioneered by Claude Rains.
You're going to be a great and famous singer. I'll help you.
Who are you?
Be quiet and listen. You sang well, but you will sing better. I shall teach you. When you sing, it will be only for me. You are dining with Ambrose Darcy tonight. Be warned. He is a vile and vicious man.
The true villain of the story is Lord Ambrose Darcy, played by Michael Gough, who runs the opera house.
You're a delicious little thing.
Like Eric Claudin, Professor Petrie is an impoverished musician. This time, the theft is not imagined.
You thief! Scoundrel!
Penniless composers are invariably drawn to their publishers, where only tragedies are printed. The spiritual subtext of Gaston Leroux's tale was never more boldly enunciated, as this composer of divine music finds hell, not heaven, on earth.
What the devil?
Good evening, Lord Ambrose.